Silver Bullet is an absolutely massive B&M invert located at Knott's Berry Farm, featuring a max height of 146 feet, top speed of 55 miles an hour, and 6 inversions over its 3,125 feet of track, and yet it is still rarely talked about. So in this video, I will answer the question, is this ride an underrated classic, or a waste of millions? Let's jump in and find out. Silver Bullet is the first coaster you will see when entering Knott's Berry Farm, since the Cobra Roll element was placed directly behind the main entrance gate. One cool thing about this ride, which is different from most other B&M inverts, is the fact that Silver Bullet interacts heavily with the surrounding paths and rides. The aforementioned Cobra Roll is a perfect example of this, having paths all the way around the element, giving fantastic views both on and off the ride. The parts of the ride that aren't over top the surrounding pathways are perfectly placed to fly right over the central lake, which is located in the middle of the front half of the park. This placement makes for some beautiful views when in the front row of the train, making you feel like your feet are going to hit the water at any moment. Unfortunately, the queue line for the coaster really lets down the rest of the presentation, just being a cattle pen hell located under the holding block and transfer track. At the very least, due to its placement, the queue is often fully shaded, which is a godsend when you take into consideration how hot the California sun can get during the summer. The station isn't anything too special in terms of theming, but thanks to the station being located really high off the ground, you get an amazing view of the surrounding park while waiting to load. Oh hey, look, the train is here. Let's take our seats and take a look at the layout. Once you get that all clear, you exit the station and take a right-hand turn before engaging the 146-foot climb up to the top of the lift hill. Once you reach the top of the lift, you get a fantastic view of the neighboring city and businesses, but before you can fully take that view in, you disengage from that lift hill and begin towards the first drop. You coast over a short piece of straight track before you twist to the right and, well, I wouldn't say you drop towards the ground, rather you ramp down towards the ground. However, this is the only semi-lackluster moment of the ride, because right after you whip into the ride's vertical loop, providing everyone a good moment of positive G-forces, particularly if you are in the very back row, due to the fact that you get completely whipped through the second half of the element. Directly after, you pull back up towards the sky into one of my favorite moments of the ride, the overbanked stall. Now this is a super cool moment of float while suspended over the path below. Now one cool thing about the ride so far is you are still super high in the air. The ride's max height is 146 feet, but the drop is only 109 feet, so you are still pretty high above the earth below. However, the exit of the overbank flings you all the way back down to ground, which in the back row gives you a decent moment of floater airtime, and will most likely take a lot of people off guard. After this overbank, you enter the most intense moment of the ride, the Cobra Roll. You quickly pull up and get 2 moments of good whip at each peak, and crushing positives once again at the bottom of each side of the element. This leads perfectly into the ride's 0G roll, which is easily my favorite element of the coaster. You get a fantastic moment of good inverted floater airtime, while combined with decent laterals. After you invert, you continue to twist in a somewhat surprising moment of whip. This curls you into a not super intense helix over the pathway, but you do get an amazing view of Ghost Town and the surrounding coasters. Now you enter the final sequence of elements on the ride, starting with a semi-snappy corkscrew over the path below. Then you hit what I like to call the fake-out corkscrew. This is an off-axis little hump which provides everyone in the train with a weak but noticeable pop of floater airtime. This leads into the ride's final inversion, a second corkscrew, which is far more whippy than the first one, but also serves to move the track over the lake once more. Finally, you whip into the final element on the ride, an upwards double helix, which is incredibly intense, causing me to gray out on all of my rides. After the helix, you gently coast into the final brake run, thus ending your ride on Silver Bullet. After over 20 years of operation at Knott's Berry Farm, Silver Bullet is still perfectly smooth. There was only a single moment with even the slightest rattle, which was the entrance of the Cobra Roll, but outside of that, this is a perfectly smooth ride. The trains themselves are very comfortable with the classic over-the-shoulder restraints, which makes you feel very secure, but leaves you with a little bit of space to still float out of your seat slightly. In closing, Silver Bullet is an absolute must-do when you're visiting Knott's Berry Farm, and it absolutely looks the part in the park even when off-ride. It's for this reason I'm giving Silver Bullet a final score of 8 out of 10. This is a very underrated coaster and a perfect fit in Knott's coaster lineup. But I'm curious, what do you think? Let me know if you have ridden Silver Bullet in the comments down below, and if not, do you want to? That's all for this video, and so I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.